conservatives and liberals. And some of you say, well, why is that troubling you? Because this is partisan politics. But that's misunderstanding the intention of the Senate. See, our MPs are elected, and our Senate is appointed. Well, why did our founding fathers decide to go through the time and expense of having an appointed Senate? And the reason is, you always hear sober second thought, but the fact that they're appointed is their strength. You see, if you're an MP and you're going to get elected every time there's an election, you are more caught up in what's popular at the time because you want to get elected and your party wants to get in power. And so you could be supporting things that aren't good for us long term as a country. But if you're an appointed body and you don't have to worry about being elected, you can actually take the long-term view and you can make decisions that are appropriate for Canada. Now, it does mean it'll be seldom that you're going to not pass a law that was passed by the House of Commons, because we are in a democracy. And, so recently, when, the Senate voted down this private members bill that the NDP support, we've had an NDP leader criticizing the Senate, how dare you strike this down because you're not elected? And it misses the point. And I'm not happy with how that happened in the Senate. But the point is that's the Senate's strength. They're not elected. So it will be seldom that they strike down a bill. And it is seldom that they strike down a bill. But because they're not elected, they've got this protection and the strength. And they can, strike down things, refuse to pass things, such as Bill C-36 that undermines the rule of law. That's why they're there. This is the type of hour that they were designed for, and yet they're voting along party lines. That's what's troubling me. There should be no place for party politics in the Senate because they are supposed to be the chamber of sober second thought. It's a given that it's seldom they're going to overturn a law, but where it's undermining our legal principles, where it's something that's going to be bad in the long term, that's when they're supposed to do it. And they shouldn't be afraid. They should say, hey, that's why we're here. This is undermining the rule of law. It's been very popular for the House of Commons to say safety, 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 and the elected MPs, they're afraid to stand up against a safety bill because what then their opponents will say, you're not protecting Canadians. Do you see how that's political suicide? How can an MP resist safety bills? But this is written by the bureaucrats. This is to give Health Canada power. It's written by Health Canada. And so the MPs get railroaded into it. But the senators are immune. And so I think we have to start thinking of the Senate not as a lame duck chamber. It's not meant to overturn things very often because it's not elected, but it's absolutely meant to overturn things that are going the wrong direction because they're unelected. And you see, we're thinking the wrong way. It's there for a reason, and they're just not doing what they should. But I'm very disappointed that this has become a partisan thing instead of what's good for Canada. Yes?
Would you give me, please, the author of the book you mentioned, Road to Serfdom?
Oh, yes. That's Frederick von Hedek. Let me just get the spelling for you.
Frederick?
Yeah, so Friedrich, F-R-I-E-D-R-I-C-H, von Hedek, H-A-Y-D-E-K. It's called The Road to Serfdom.
Give me that
And he's
surname
basically...
again. The surname again, please, the spelling.
H-A-Y-D-E-K.
Thank you.
Right, so just to say that again, it's H-A-Y-D-E-K.
Thank you.
The Road to Serfdom. He's an economist of the Austrian school, so the Austrian school would oppose, let's say, quantitative easing, saying you can't print money, you've got to have money linked to something of value, and would oppose deficit financing, for example. So, yes?
Yes, good afternoon. The Creator put all of us here to be loved and to give love. It's very fundamental. That's why we're put into families. And our journeys are all different but very similar. And the reason I'm saying all this is that I've had a near-death experience about 30 years ago as a result of many things. Some my fault, some not my fault. But I had to throw away all my pharmaceuticals in the garbage in the toilet about 30 years ago. And I had to understand and find out answers for myself and ask a lot of questions. And I found some of those answers. So I'm still walking out this journey, this wonderful life we've been given. And so we need to encourage each other as community, as people, caring for each other and walking in more peace, and showing that, and using our resources, and learning about farming, learning about where our food comes from, learning what else we can do, and not get caught up in the panic and the terror and the fear that they want to put upon us, because that controls a whole society. So we need to understand how to be free in our awareness and educate ourselves with things that work, that are simple, and yet have far-reaching positive consequences. And I think that helps to give life, and we can carry that on, and it'll show forth even without saying words. So I just want to emphasize that we're here to love each other, work together, and not so much to get into a fight with them per se, because that's what they want in part, but to really show them there's a better way, and we don't have to say too much, but do it and mean it, and do it with an attitude of love and gratefulness. So support your local farmers, your community sustained agriculture, and so on, and learn and ask questions and do your research and be responsible for your own health, because otherwise it could cost you your life, because it almost did with me. Thank you, and bless you.
Thank you.